Rob, maybe we would talk during the meeting on appointing 1 or 2 people from this committee to work with the various groups on Earth Day. Because I know there's a lot of grassroots groups doing things, and maybe we could, kind of coordinate at least getting them all centrally outreach to people.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. We could put that.
Yeah,
we have Earth Day events on the agenda, so
Right.
yeah. Okay. Did you have anything else, Carol?
That's basically it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other public participation? Anybody else like to say anything? I don't see any. Oh, if you'd like to unmute yourself and just state your name and where you live, please.
Sure. Theo Knoll, 8 Fernwood Road, Wakefield. So I just want to introduce myself. I am running for the planning board in Wakefield, and I'm really interested in exploring the linkages between the planning board and all the other boards in town. And I think the comment about sort of coordinating around Earth Day is a sort of a really thoughtful thing. Certainly everything that's happening with visioning is worthwhile. And just a shout out to y'all, I was pretty excited for the town council discussion about the stretch code. So, and I'm just here to listen and so share the excitement. So thanks very much. Nice to meet you.
Thanks. Nice meeting you. And thanks for your comment. Is there anybody else who'd like to say anything for public? Okay. All right. I'm going to just jump the agenda a little bit. Susie has to be in 2 places at the same time. So I'm going to ask Susie for any updates from the school, Wakefield Public Schools, if that's
yes. So a couple of you guys know about this because I shared it in an email, but I wanted to give a little bit more color regarding a recent finance and facilities meeting that I attended. It's probably 5 weeks ago now, where we ended up, actually Danielle Collins came and spoke to the committee for about a half an hour. We actually talked about the budget implication that the bylaw was going to have on the schools. And kind of the highlights from that discussion were a couple of things. One, the COVID regulations for serving food require that everything be pre-packaged and packaged with lids, right? So everything that they now give out to kids has to be wrapped and covered, and it's creating a situation where there's a lot more just packaging in general that is needed in order to distribute the food kind of to kids. So that was one thing. Second of all, she spoke about just the overall shortage of paper goods and trying to get your hands on the necessary items that she was hoping to kind of swap out and get and put in. And so she was raising some concerns about, in order to be compliant in time for the bylaw, she wasn't sure she would even be able to get the materials. The amount of materials that she now needs based on COVID rules. And then kind of one other comment that she made was, without kind of real recycling, I'm going to say real recycling or composting at the schools, she can't really get compostable trays because you're not supposed to put them into black trash bags, is what she said. And so without kind of a composting plan in the school, she was really reluctant to kind of head down that path. And the final statement that she made that really kind of hit home for me, that I had not considered at all when we started down this path, was that while a restaurant in town can kind of pass on the cost to their customers, we at the school could pass on that cost to students, that really comes with a risk, particularly right now in this time when lots of kids are taking advantage of the free meals, which of course they're taking advantage of them because they're available, but also some of those kids really need kind of the less expensive meals. And when all was said and done, Danielle was estimating that she was going to need to increase the per meal cost by 25 to 30 cents per meal at every level in order to cover off on the increased costs for kind of the right materials. And we had a decent debate about it in that meeting, in talking that it just didn't feel right to kind of pass on that kind of increase in price when you're talking about a $3 meal and you're talking about a 10% increase in cost, which could be really problematic for families. And so anybody who has met Danielle, I don't know that, I mean, Rob, I think you've had some interaction with her. She is incredibly committed to sustainability, like way more progressive than I ever expected when I first met her. She considers herself an environmentalist. She, she's a gardener. She's involved in kind of state level things related to food services. And so she's very, very committed to making the changes. She just feels like at this point, it's going to be very difficult for the reasons that I kind of outlined. And as soon as I heard the 30-cent increase, I honestly just about fell off of my chair. And we can't pass that on to students. I'm totally there with her. And so we started talking about a waiver. So I reached out to Julie, and Julie and I had a bit of conversation about it as well. I think Steve Mayo is certainly open to the idea of, could we help the schools head in the right direction by using some CARES Act money to buy supplies, but I don't know that solves the full problem. And so Julie and I talked about, while Danielle, I think, will continue to kind of head down the right path, I don't think she's going to be able to get 100% there in time. And we talked about her, kind of writing up from a waiver perspective, like, what has she done so far? What else is she going to do? Kind of some highlights of what I just talked about as to the reasons why she thinks she can't be compliant right now. And that we would ask for a year-long waiver, but with the intention of like moving in the right direction. And I certainly believe that Danielle is fully committed to that, based on kind of everything that she was saying to me. I did tell her that I thought that Joe Conway was going to have some news maybe coming about composting in town and and recycling improvements. And so I think that will also help Danielle get there, because I think in her mind, without having that in place, it feels like she's getting kind of ahead of the train. And in a situation where that we're already kind of short on money and don't want to pass that cost off to students, it didn't feel like the right move. So I think if we can get if those changes do come to be and get into the schools, I think that just opens the doors for, maybe we get compostable trays, because that's really, the styrofoam is kind of the biggest piece here, right? So that was kind of where we left things. I have not yet been able to circle back with Danielle. I actually need to do that. But as you guys know, there's a lot going on at school right now. And she has not attended our kind of any of our follow-up meetings. And so I will probably have to follow up with her separately. But the expectation at this point is that there will not be any additional budget kind of allocated for becoming compliant. There is no plan to raise prices. But she definitely is committed to making changes where she can. So that's kind of where we're at. Does anybody have any questions on that?
Can I just add, so just for everybody to be on the same baseline. So the new styrofoam bylaw starts on June, gosh, maybe Melissa's even have to remind me, June 1st, I think, or June 31st? June 1st. Right?
I think it's July 1st. Isn't it July 1st?
Yeah, I think it's June 30.
June
June
30th.
30. Okay, so end of June. So the school doesn't have to even put a waiver into place until September, I guess, because I don't think you serve things over the summer, right?
So actually we will be though. So
Oh, okay.
they just announced at our finance meeting this morning that they are going to be continuing the free meals during the summer. Now, I don't know that she uses styrofoam in any of that packaging, because that's the come and pick up for the week for families.
Right.
But they
When I have picked up, it's been in a box with bags and plastic bags, but there wasn't any. It wasn't packaged that way.
I didn't think so. Yeah. So the only thing that I wonder about though is there's a lot of discussion about supporting kids where there's been learning loss, like even into the summer, right? So we're doing some stuff right now through the spring, and I think that will continue into the summer. So if we did have kids kind of in the school, maybe we would see lunches being served. I don't know that for sure. But you're right, Julie. I think the possibility of there being styrofoam used over the summer is probably limited, if at all.
And there'll be other things that the school will comply on, I assume, like they're not, even during the school year, they're not going to give out the plasticware. They'll have it for people to pick up. I mean, that's consistent with
that.
So I don't know about that, Julie, because right now there aren't any like self-service stations.
Oh, okay.
Even in prepackaged stuff. Like I think like you're handing off to kids their set of stuff. Now, with all the changes that were just announced of, everybody going back to school, is the COVID food services rules, are those going to change over time? Like, I don't think they will for the spring, but could they for the fall? Possibly, right? So maybe, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, what Susie and I talked about was documenting the efforts that are being made. And I think there will be efforts being made. Since Susie and I talked, we've announced the composting program for the town. Well, we announced it on Monday night. Well, it'll be a town meeting. So there's a new program, and I can report on it later, but there's a new program in town where we're partnering with Black Earth Compost. And it's a reduced cost thing, but I think we'll be able to work out something with the schools similar to what we've done in the elementary schools. So I think that there will be collaboration to move in the right direction. And so it's not going to be clear. We'll look at what's happening in June so that we have the right waivers in place on July 1st. But I will say, and we can report later on what we're doing with the businesses, but we've said all along where there are real issues, whether it be with the businesses or with the town or with the schools, we're going to work together. As long as we're moving in the right direction, I think we're pretty confident the waivers will be put in place.
Yeah, and like I said, there's no reason to think that Danielle is not going to move us in the right direction. She's definitely committed for sure. I think the other thing that's going to become interesting is as we head back to school full time and are now serving lunches again, food rescue may be something that we need to start thinking about again, Rob. I don't think that they're going to let volunteers into the school. I can't imagine that they are. But they're also going to be, I don't want to say desperate, but I'm going to say desperate for support on monitoring lunches. So because we're going to have more lunches because less kids have to have lunch. And so I do wonder if they're going to have to end up leaning on volunteers for lunch monitors, which could then get us back into the business of doing some food rescue at the school. So that's something that we should probably think about. And I can take that action to talk to Doug of, are they thinking about utilizing volunteers at the elementary level, at least for lunch monitoring? I'll check with him.
I don't think it's something we have to resolve right now. I definitely think it's worth, I mean, obviously we're planning ahead towards it. And I think we'd have the same discussion with the schools, or Steve would as the enforcer, but so I've brought him into the loop. He's aware of what's happening. He's trying to think about, whether there is any other kind of funding type money, because a lot of this is brought on not just because of costs in the market, but because of requirements of COVID. And so we're trying to think about how we can, maybe find a way to make this work. And if not, I think we document in a waiver process what's happening. And if we get, 6 months, a year out and absolutely nothing is happening, then we may have to revisit it. But I think for this first year, we knew that this was going to be a bit of an issue, and there'll be waivers in place.
Yeah, and Danielle has been, the amount of meetings I had with her, she was always leaning in the right direction. And then COVID hit and we just left her alone. So, yeah. I agree with.
And
Moving forward
Susie,
with that.
where is the regulation regarding the food packaging in schools coming from?
That's a really good question. I don't know if that's state run or national, but I can try to find that out. I can ask. I can send Danielle a note. Because she was very like, everything has to have lids. So she's like, now I have to buy like plastic lids that have to sit over where you used to have they're like the French fry boats, right? She has like boats in all different sizes that she would put stuff in, and now it has to either be, I don't even think they can use saran wrap. She made it sound like it's lids. So she was just like that the amount of packaging that is required for them to give that food out is increasing. But I'll try to find out, Myra.
And with COVID hitting, we also fully stopped on doing all the recycling stuff, right? Like Andy Bray had his grant for adding in
So
all sorts of stuff.
Andy reached out to me because he was not happy to hear what my statement at the school committee meeting the other night. And so I had asked him to try to come to this. I haven't. I'll catch up with him separately.
Okay.
But I think all of his stuff is on hold. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I will say to the high school students and to everybody, I mean, this is where maybe the best we can do for right now is awareness. Bring your own silverware. Don't take the extra plastic. Don't get lunch if you don't need. I don't know what the messaging is, but maybe there's just some basic awareness raising. Even if you go home, dispose of things in the right ways. So I don't know, just something I'm throwing out there to think about.
Have you guys have been getting like takeaways, like for kids can grab lunch on their way out the door, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So both of my girls get the lunch, and to your point, the amount of packaging is immense. It just is, and we actually as a family reached out, and the guidance that we were given is that they have to include like the plasticware, because the girls come home, they don't need the plasticware. We have silverware, and it's not something that can be separated out, because we did ask, can they just have it? And part of those require, and to Myra's point, where did those requirements come? And it was told to us that it's required that the plasticware be packaged with every meal that's given out, and there's nothing that they can do. So we've been saying, and we, quite frankly, we have been looking for an outlet to repurpose them, because they're all individually wrapped, and we have not found anywhere that needs a package of plasticware, straw, and napkin that's all pre-packaged. So if anyone has any ideas, I have a giant bag of them. Because we even offered to give it back to the school, and they're like, no, once it goes, which I totally get. They can't take it back, but there's a lot of material.
Is that the same at the high school, Nick and Sophie? Is it?
I've never gotten the lunch or takeaway lunch, so I have no idea. I don't know if any of them.
I don't know if they still have it. I think they did in the beginning part of the year. Like I've seen students like coming in and out of the caf, but I have no idea if they still have it.
I think they still offer it. I don't know like the logistical, like what they actually offer though. I can find out and look into it though, unless someone else knows.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I can probably do that though.
All right. Thanks.
I
Uma,
would bet
do you
that
know?
it's the same stuff that Tom's kids are getting, right? Like I think
Yeah,
they make
most
that for like all the kids.
Yeah.
And Uma, are you at the high school or the middle school?
Yeah, I'm at the high school, but I do
Okay.
fully remote, so I don't go in.
Okay,
ever.
okay.
Okay.
Well, let's just, I think this is a great thing to raise, Susie, and we all just keep thinking about it and
Yep.
from an awareness raising from a waiver and how do we document it and try to make incremental steps forward. And then how do we use some of this new, possible collaborations on composting might be a way to move it forward too. So I think as long as we have our eyes on it,
Yep.
we can make progress.
I
I
just
know
want to
that's
say
what
thank
kind
you,
of-
Susie, for keeping on the
Yeah.
agenda, because I feel like with all the millions of things happening, just the fact that the conversations are happening and that that people are still thinking about it, I feel like is a huge win. So thank you so much.
So I have to say, you guys, I sent a note. I was like, hey, could we talk about this at the upcoming meeting? And I arrived at the meeting and Danielle's there, and I thought we were gonna just like chat about it. Danielle comes in totally prepared. We spend 30 minutes on it. The finance committee is in on the discussion, right? Like, and I think it was actually good for Gerard Lehman to hear the conversation, because we ended up talking a little bit about how it's different than restaurants. And yes, I kept it on the agenda, but certainly I didn't actually expect that kind of response. And clearly Danielle took our ask very seriously. I mean, she came in very prepared with like, these are the numbers, and I've done my research on what it would take to kind of swap things out. And like, she wasn't just throwing numbers around. She had come in very prepared, and in fact said to me, like, do you want all of the details? And I was like, no, I totally trust like what you're saying. Like, I don't need to see all the number breakdowns. So yeah, it was, I was pleasantly surprised at how seriously they took my ask, because it was a little bit like, hey, can we just make sure that we talk about this at an upcoming meeting? But as obviously, as we're getting closer to approving a budget, if we did feel like we needed to make something happen, they needed to be making some decisions about that. So yeah, it was good. It's it belongs on the agenda, right? It's something we passed as a town. We need to take it seriously.
Exactly.
And
Right.
yeah, so it was good stuff.
Thank you, Susie.
Yep.
Thanks. Right. So I think Susie's hopping off to
I am
finance.
going to hop off. I might come
Right,
back
thanks.
because I'm not sure how long we're going to be on the finance committee side, so I may be back.
You're welcome back. See you in a
Okay.
bit then. All right. Take it.
All right. See you guys.
Thanks. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to go back to the original agenda now. Susie obviously had to go to another meeting. So public participation. Item 3 on the agenda is the minutes, approval of the minutes for January 14th and February 11th. Did everybody have a chance to read them? Robin sent them out. Does anybody have any updates or issues? No? Okay. All right. I'll approval of the minutes for the 2.
So moved.
Thank you.
I second.
Moved by Julie, second by Maya. All right. All in favour. Tom?
Aye.
Rob? Aye. Julie?
Aye.
Robin?
Aye.
And Myra?
Yes.
Approved. Thank you. Thanks, guys. So item 4 on the agenda, discussion and a vote to ask the town council to add members. So we've had a couple of discussions about this and we just need to vote on it. So hang on, let me
Did we
just-
come to a conclusion of what the ask is in terms of numbers? We talked about making it odd. So are we asking for 1 or 3?
So I drafted something up that was, I'm just going to try and figure out how to share, and then
Okay.
we can finalize what we'd like.
Bottom of your screen, Rob, should be a little green button that says share screen.
Thank you. I think I got it. Yep. Okay. So I just drafted something up basic. Can everybody see that? Is it?
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Yeah, I just made it sort of informal, so adding 3 more, so it would make us an odd number. I think that was your question, wasn't it, Robin? I think that's what
that was requested based on a recent change we made to the youth council at the town council, that they always be odd.
So thank you. So in our discussion, we talked about making it odd and staggering the years. So we're currently four public members. Our limits all finish at the same time right now. So by adding 2 3-year terms or 1-year term, we would stagger it by those expiration dates. So did anybody have any comments on that? Does that make sense? Is that what?
So Rob, you're suggesting that the town council would appoint 3 people this year.
Right.
And two of them would have 3-year terms and 1 would have a 2-year term.
Yes.
I'm curious why you did that as opposed to having them appoint 2 more this year and 1 next year. All to 3-year terms.
I just thought it'd be one ask.
Okay.
And then stagger it, because we all finish next year. So there'll be 4
That's
up
true.
next year.
That's true.
So then moving forward, it's full staggered. So it's
Do
a
we-
one-time ask, and then everything's staggered after that.
I would say, but don't we need to make sure the ask is that, well, one person would be a 2-year, that seat would turn into a 3-year after that first time, right? Because we want it to then every 3 years. So that one seat, we don't want to continue on a 2-year term. It's
Got you.
just,
Yep. Thank you. Yes. So we'd ask for anybody who wants to be on the committee to be a 3-year term, but we're just staggering it for next year. Is that what?
well, no, we're asking for everyone to be a 3-year term with the exception of 1 is a 2-year term in the first term.
First
of their-
term. Yep.
Yeah, so
Okay.
Rob, I would
Yeah, that's a good
say
point,
change the proposes adding 3-year term with one of the 3-year terms for the first appointment to only be 2 years. I don't know how we put that in actual.
Oh, instead of
Well, it's just like appointing to somebody to an open
Okay.
seat. So the first appointment would just be a 2-year. Renewable.
I don't know how we draft that. Julie, is that how we ask for that?
Yeah, I think it is. I think we asked for 3 more 3-year terms. With 1 to be
Initially seated for 2.
exactly.
okay. Right. So
It's a good point.
with that amendment, so we're just going to vote on it, and then I think Julie or I can present it to the town council, bring it forward. It could be on the next agenda, I think, for March 21st. I think it is.
So Rob, do you want to edit this document live? And,
Is it live?
yeah, you should be able. I mean, it's a Google Doc, so you should be able to just go in there and change the 2 to a 3.
Oh, right. Yeah, just do it now. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
just
sorry.
do it now so we all see it on screen, and then we can vote on it.
All right, so adding. So it's changing 2.
Change that to a 3. And then I think after the comma say
So
with
3-year terms.
Then after the comment with 1 of the seats, the initial seat being a 2-year term or something to that effect.
With 1 with
An initial 2-year term.
with
an initial 2-year term.
Just add the word initial in there. INITIAL.
Hang on. Hang on. 2-year term. Okay.
Nope. Space.
Huh? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, initial and initial.
Yeah. All right.
All right, we got it. So we'll fix
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I'll fix
Yeah,
that.
I like that.
Okay.
So I motion to accept what Rob has written.
Second.
Any discussion?
Any
Julie, do we need
discussion?
to say why?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, I think as part of the discussions, we can report on why. So if people want to give us their thoughts, please do.
Well, I think it's just important to have staggered to allow if there needs to be change. It's, we're not a completely new board of, on 1 year over the other. So it provides that continuity of background and, so forth.
Yeah.
Goals.
I think
And
we
also,
also,
right, I think almost all boards in town are staggered as well, to provide that continuity.
I think we're unusual too in that 4 out of the 8 of us, so, fully half are on other boards with a lot of responsibility. So this gives us a little more, a little more manpower, people power.
Some more depth on the bench.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to me, I mean, I was looking back at our sort of charter, which includes sort of a fair amount of education and public engagement. And I feel like that's the part that's been a little bit harder. So that's where I feel like it would just be helpful to have other people who are interested in, and represent maybe different voices.
Yeah.
It's such a broad scope that having different voices might be helpful.
Okay, so any other discussion? Are everybody happy with this? And I can send this to the town council and put it on the agenda for the next town council meeting. Okay. Hang on, how do I?
And Rob, what's the process? I know the town boards have gone through some change in terms of process. So would this committee sort of vet anybody who applied, or would the idea be that it would just go to town council, or who's the approving authority? I know.
I can answer that. It's ultimately town council. The convention has become that the town council advertises for the position. We share them with the usually the executive committee of the actual committee, who can feel free to make recommendations. And so we do take into consideration the recommendations under the thinking that the committee knows kind of where their gaps are, what they need, what kind of people they need. And in general, we have taken those recommendations. I mean, I would say not 100% of the time, but most of the time.
Okay.
So I'm right in saying we should vote on this and then move it forward, right? Okay. So all in favour of? Oh, I just took it off. I'm sorry. Of the document.
We need to do a roll call.
So Rob, aye. Tom,
Aye.
Julie,
Yes.
Robin,
Aye.
thank you, and Myra.
Yes.
Great. Thanks, guys. All right. All right. So let me stop. All right. Item 5 on the agenda, pending business and discussions. So Joe is also in the finance meeting tonight, so he could not be here. I don't know if anybody had the opportunity to listen or watch the rerun of the town council meeting.
Or lived it in person.
Or lived it in person, right, Julie? It was a good one for you. 3 hours, something. Yeah.
I was cheering you on, Julie.
Yeah, you did a great job. So Julie already said briefly the the town did go out for an RFP for composting and black earth compost.
Which was thanks
What?
to Rob and this committee who pushed it. So that's a
So-
big win for this committee.
Yeah, putting in all our recommendations and a lot of discussions, and with the schools, we now have. Hang on, Joe did send me an email.
Yeah, I was
It's-
really impressed with Joe too. I thought I've been meaning to send him an email because he seems really passionate about it, and I know that Rob did a lot of work with him, but it's really exciting. I mean, he's committed, and it sounds like there's some great things in the recycling contract too.
Yeah.
In terms of the potential, plus the composting, the subsidy, or at least the bulk composting.
So yeah, so Joe and also Anne, she managed to find a grant for the starter kits. So they're offering 200 starter kits. There's going to be the trade-off is they're going to store 4 trucks at our pit, but we're also going to get a reduced rate and a staggered reduced rate depending on how many people sign up. But there is 200 free starter kits, so that's immediately going to increase our participation in composting in town. So
Did anyone not have their composting picked up today?
It was super late.
Okay, so it could be like now they could be coming.
Yeah, they did mine around 4:45.
They did mine at like 3.
So on the other part of that also increasing so part of the trash reduction, they're also going to be adding some sort of dumpster for large bulk cardboard at the pit. And I'm sure, is this all going to vote, Julie? Because they were talking about
This is
free
all part
pit
of the town
pass.
meeting. So it's always a separate warrant item for refuse and recycling. So it will be important to get people out to vote on this. But yeah, so there's going to be composting. So basically, as more people compost, and we'll be giving incentives for at least the first 200 barrels and possibly other incentives, so that as more people compost, the prices come down for everybody. And a lot of that is also there's some, the prices will come down over what they are right now because of the town collaboration with storing the trucks. They'll collect cardboard at the pit. Recycling will stay bi-weekly at this point, but one of the concessions was you can go and drop off any of the cardboard at the pit anytime you want. And what I particularly like both about the composting plan and the drop-off plan on cardboard is that it also includes multifamily homes, which right now are not subject to the services of our pickup. So I like that. Trying to think what else. Oh, the other thing that we did decide, and it was a split vote, and you may have already seen some chatter on it, was to start charging $20 for bulk pickup. Right now, we have unlimited amounts of bulk pickup, and charging $20 allows us to recoup a little bit of money. And we also, and it also gives us some what they call dividend points under the state recycling program, which helps us get grants, like the grant that we got for the compost materials. And there's anecdotal evidence that people are actually bringing things to Wakefield homes to dispose of bulk. And so we're hoping that this will curb that practice. Again, that's just anecdotal, but we hope so.
On just the general refuse contract with composting, hopefully ramping up and diverting a lot of that waste, and I apologize, I haven't watched the whole TC meeting. Are there discounts as our waste stream gets lighter, or is that in the next, is that something just in the next contract?
We're going to continue to evaluate that. The hope is not only will our waste stream get lighter, which will save the town money. Frankly, the bigger amount of the money is in saving in sewer. So the less things that go down the garbage disposal, that's where the real savings is going to be. So we're going to track both of those aspects very, very closely and continue to reevaluate them.
And I think to that point, I think that's actually a good education item that, you know, as the both DPW and this board educate people on, because they're, you know, quite frankly, until I did it, I thought putting stuff down the garbage disposal was better than putting it in the trash. So, you know, until one is educated and knows better and knows the kind of cost analysis that goes into these things.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I definitely think, and we'll be doing a lot of education around this. And Jonathan Chines, who of course has 4 kids, made a point that with composting and recycling, I mean, they maybe have 1 bag of trash a week, which is pretty compelling. The average I know is 12 pounds of composting per family per week is taken out of the trash streams when you introduce composting. So it's pretty significant, but I honestly think what Joe's more excited about are the sewer benefits.
Those solids. Yeah.
So it's very exciting. There was a little bit of talk, and Joe proposed perhaps as an added incentive, giving people who sign up for the composting service a break or a free pass to the pit. There was a bit of discussion and disagreement over that, so nothing was decided on right now.
Has the program, you know, I know it's early day in terms of, is it just first come, first serve for the 200, or is, you know, if there's, which I think would be amazing if there was a demand for more than 200, how do we?
I think it'll be first come, first serve. We'll see what the demand is and then go from there. It'll be, I think, a bit like the rain barrel program.
So there are some people pre-signed up waiting for the cost to drop. Would they be
So we should talk about that. We may be able to work with Joe to make sure that they get a some advance notice on it.
Yeah, maybe Black Earth can give the list to Joe.
Yeah.
They obviously know who those folks are.
I was also thinking for this committee, and depending on how the timing works out, Black Earth also provides the soil for the community garden, and they built those community garden plots, I guess you would call them. I am pretty sure, I don't know what the latest numbers are, but it's a lottery system to get into the community garden, and I think it's going to be way oversubscribed this year. I think I signed up on the 3rd day and there were 37 people already signed up. We may want to do some kind of cross promotion with Black Earth around, you know, sign up for composting, and maybe also if you can't get into community garden, or build your own plot in your own house. And maybe we can work with Black Earth to do some sort of a promotion on that as well. I mean, if I don't get into the community garden, I'm going to have them come build a plot in my backyard.
And I just want to double check. Now we have an RFP and they are our preferred vendor. Yes. We can actually promote them.
We can promote them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Julie,
actually, they're not our preferred vendor yet because we haven't signed the contract, and we can't do that till town meeting.
Well, that's a good point, Robin.
I do want, yeah. So I mean, not to say that town meeting may, who the heck knows, but they're not under contract, so we should be careful of that.
Yeah. So no, we're not going to do anything until town meeting. It's clear.
Okay, thank you.
But we did go out to RFP. They were the only ones who responded, and so, you know, assuming we get through the steps, then they will be our preferred vendor.
So is there a communication, like, you know, on the town Facebook page or anything that we should be thinking about? And I mean, even if we can't talk about Black Earth specifically, but I'm just wondering whether we should, you know, if we can do some communications around it in preparation for the discussion at town meeting.
Yes, we will. And maybe when we get through kind of the green communities too, there's going to be a number of things I think we're going to have to do some promotion around. And I do want to bring, I know like a lot of our student members have been anxious to get going on social media, and I have a little update on that as well.
All right. So, do we want to give a quick update on the green community?
Yes.
Julie?
So also on Monday, which is one reason it was a marathon meeting, we briefly discussed the one item that is needed to go to town meeting to become a green community. As you may recall, there's 5 criteria, and we, 3 of them we meet, well, 2 of them we already meet. We're already zoned for renewables. We already have essentially, Robert, you have to help me, an as right zoning for renewables. The other thing 3 we need to do are to have a municipal fleet policy for for kind of more efficient vehicles, which will be something that will come to the town council as simply a policy. We are working very hard on the biggest lift, quite frankly, is setting our energy baseline for all municipal buildings and then coming up with a plan for a 20% reduction from there. Rob and I were on a call, was it just yesterday?
Yesterday,
Yeah. So we're working with the light department and the DPW to set the baseline and then to think about how we're going to get to 20%. We're a bit of an anomaly because we have a municipal utility that's both electricity and gas. And so we're trying to work some things through there, but that's the big lift. But the 5th criteria is to have adopted the stretch code. We talked briefly about it on Monday. It was a long meeting. Frankly, I wasn't as prepared as I should have been. So we're going to bring that back on the 22nd because counselors had very fair questions about what it means, who it applies to. And so we're going to discuss that again on the 22nd. I actually think I'm going to ask Rob to be there, and we're going to invite Neil Duffy, who is our counterpart at the state level, who's kind of our advisor at the state level, to be there to answer any questions. In addition, our building inspector, who has done this in Everett, I believe, or Revere, will be there to answer questions. And so I'm hoping that we'll have a more fulsome discussion on it on the 22nd. So that will go to town meeting. So we will also have to do some education around that at town meeting.
Julie, what's the deadline for getting the warrant on the town meeting? How close are we getting?
It's March 30th, I think. It does bring up one question that we didn't put on here for a vote, but I guess because we have it on here, there was a question at Monday's meeting as to whether the warrant should come from the Environmental Sustainability Committee, from me personally, so anybody who is a member of an elected board can put a warrant out, or from town council. I am going to request on the 22nd that it be town council. I feel like this is a program that is a community-wide program that brings a lot of grant money into the town. So I'm going to really try to see whether town council will take this on. As a backup, I am going to propose to this committee, if we have a quorum, that we vote that if town council does not want to bring it forward, that Environmental Sustainability Committee bring it forward.
Okay.
I think it's stronger to have a committee do it than just a single person, and a single person, frankly, who's up for re-election. I don't want it to seem, it shouldn't be a political issue. This is really a big thing coming for the town that benefits the whole town. So I'd like a committee to bring it forward.
So, well, we can make a motion right now, right? If the town council does not.
The agenda does not list that we're voting on the green.
I think we're going to have to do it under matters not anticipated.
Okay. Because it happened within. Yeah.
Because it happened on Monday. Yeah. Because on Monday was when the question came up, which is essentially when we had already posted the agenda.
All right. So
but we don't have. Wouldn't we need to know what the motion is?
The motion would be to put a warrant forward to accept, and I can read it out, to accept the adoption of the stretch code by the town of Wakefield.
Didn't we vote on this?
We voted on taking all steps necessary to, well, that's a good point. We voted on taking all steps necessary to help or to have Wakefield make an application to the Green Communities Act. And so it might be covered under that. So let's think about that and then go.
So we did all vote then, and that was Susie was here and Joe was here as well.
We did all vote.
We all voted yes on that.
So maybe that might be sufficient, actually. So if the town council decides they don't want to move it forward, we can say, well, the ESC has already taken a vote to take all steps necessary to make an application, which in fact includes, and if we can get a council opinion on that, and if not, we can hold a special meeting.
Julie, is there anything, so I agree with you, the green communities is a town-wide, and, I think it brings a lot more weight having town council sponsor the warrant. If they choose not to, or even before, is there anything we can do as a committee or even individually outside of, reaching out to all the councilors to say that we would like that to be taken up as a town council warrant, sponsored warrant? Is there any other?
I think anybody can reach out to all the counselors, and I think that we need to remind them that this committee as a body already voted to take all measures necessary to make an application, and clearly this is a measure necessary to make an application. So, and I'm not saying, by no means am I saying that they're against it. I just, they needed more information. I intend on getting them all that information. Rob I think will be there to share the sense of the committee on the 22nd. And so I don't really see it as a problem. I just really feel like it's much stronger to either come from town council, and if not from town council, from the environmental sustainability committee, than from an individual, even an elected individual.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll definitely be there, and let me know.
And Neil has confirmed he will be there as well, and he's the subject matter expert. So I'm much more confident that it will go smoothly.
Okay. So next on the agenda is land protection. We're going to skip that one. Mary's not here tonight, so we don't have an update on that. And that safe streets, Julie,
I don't have a huge update on that. We had a really good meeting. We're the fourth Tuesday of the month. Sorry, we meet. We had a very, we've continued to have great turnout, a lot of discussion. So I just encourage people to come to that. They are another one of the groups that wants to do an Earth Day event. They're thinking about maybe doing a bike safety type event, collaborating with Safe Streets to School, which is the school program, and doing some sort of like a helmet fitting bike safety program. So I think when we talk about Earth Day, they'll be one of the stakeholders in that.
Great, thanks. Next on the agenda is social media. So.
Oh no, committee collaborations.
Oh, whoops. Sorry. Thank you. Does anybody have any collaboration? Robin, did you attend any other meetings?
No, I haven't. I look forward to talking to planning. I actually, in a strange occurrence, met one of the planning board members today through my dog. And she also is excited at the potential of us talking together. So nothing's dead.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So social media.
So let me give a little
Julie.
update on that. And we have kind of gotten caught up in a bigger issue. So essentially by us making the question to Jen McDonald, she went back to really start to prepare some information, some guidelines for us to use, and realized that Facebook had changed a lot, not only the rules, but they had gotten rid of a lot of the language that we had put up for the town-wide one as well. So there was a meeting, it's been yesterday. There was a meeting yesterday between the town council, the head of communications, Steve Mayo, and myself. I feel like there's somebody else there, about social media in general. And we decided that any town entity that has a social media will have to post a policy that is essentially written right now, that will, I mean, it's that no people engage with it responsibly and civilly, and if there's anything that is obviously any profanity, we added some defamatory language to it. We really kind of struggled with what the issues are, because there's a lot of things around open meeting laws and how you can't take down certain comments. So the end result is that Jen McDonald is going to hold a meeting with the committees that have or want social media sometime in the next 2 weeks to review best practices. We did also decide that a town employee will also have to be an administrator on the page, just so that we don't lose kind of continuity as people go on and off committees. So she'll be doing a training on that we need to designate 1 or 2 people to go to. And I know we had the students were super involved. I want them to go to that. Uma, I know, was trying to figure out her schedule, but we've committed to work around that. So I think it's fine for our student members to go. And if one of the elected members wants to go as well, that would be fine. That doesn't constitute a quorum. So we should decide who we want that to be, pass those names on to Jen, and that should happen in the next 2 weeks or so.
So who would like to join that meeting if we can make it work? Uma, I think, was definitely interested, and Nick was interested. He's still available?
Yeah, I'm available.
I am as well. I'd be happy to go in too.
Okay. All right. I'll make sure you get put on the email chain and try and figure out what's best for you guys.
I'd be happy to go too.
Great.
Okay. Thank you. That'd be great.
And for the students, you'll have to help us a little bit because the other thing we decided is that we're going to hire a service to archive all social media for the town. It just helps protect us. But the students might actually really be a big help as to helping us figure out what beyond Facebook. This service will archive anything. We know the youth council, for example, is using Instagram, which is great. There's a little bit of angst around Snapchat. So I think you guys will actually really help inform, not just for the Environmental Sustainability Committee, but think through kind of for the town, what are the platforms?
Great. Thanks. So yeah, I'll make sure Jen has your emails and who's going to join for the MAR committee. It's Earth Day events. So we'd already briefly talked about this. So it's next on the agenda. Collaborating with other committees. So Julie, you'd already mentioned Safe Streets. We talked about the grassroots sustainable Wakefield. There's obviously the
FOLQ.
Friends of the Lake. Yeah.
Lake. I don't know, are there other groups that people can think of?
Do you know, is FOLQ, are they doing their lake cleanup?
I don't know. I think we should reach out to them. That's why I was thinking if somebody wanted to take the lead, they could do some reaching out. And I know that Carol has been, I don't know whether she's still on. There's a, let me see if Carol.
Is there someone who interested in taking a lead on helping collaborate between the different groups?
So I felt like I sort of signed up, and I'm happy to do that. I mean, I feel like, yeah, I'm happy to reach out to them.
Okay.
I don't know the people at FLQ. And
I can introduce
you. I
you.
know Sustainable Wakefield either.
Yeah. Oh, the other one she mentioned was Marie, who was on the call last month. She runs something called Lakeside Mindfulness, and I know she's been talking about doing maybe some tours or some mindfulness type things.
So is the sense from people that we can do like some kind of outside gathering this year, or what's the? I just don't know. I know people are doing it, but I don't know if it's sort of as a town entity, if people feel like that's okay or not okay.
Well, remember, we did the farmers market, which is a town outdoor event, successfully for months.
Yeah.
So there is examples of it, if that helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if it's on the lake and if it's a group, I think over 25 for outside, we just should think about getting, just running it by somebody. But like I said, the Safe Streets wants to do something, I think, probably in a parking lot about bikes. As long as everybody's masked and we have a system and a flow like they did for the farmers market, I think it's fine.
So we probably should check that with Ruth Clay, right? because the farmers market was kind of exempt from gatherings because it was food and essential.
Yeah.
So
I think let's think about things and then let's go to Ruth. I mean, the community dinners are happening again. I was at one last night. Outside again. I mean, we're serving outside, but I feel like, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to be too optimistic because numbers were ticking up as of Monday again. So
We did town meeting outside and we're about to do it again.
exactly. I think as long as we're very aware of space and distance and, you know, our standard precautions, we're probably okay. So if anybody has any ideas, I know that Carol's shared that website with us. There's lots of ideas out there.
So can
And
I
we could
just
even
ask,
go ahead.
well, what people would see as sort of the vision or the ideal? I mean, as we think about where we are in a town, as a town now, and sort of trying to create some momentum around this or some sort of, you know, just positive energy about it. Are you all like imagining that the best case would be like all in one place to do, like we could have like, you know, the safe streets in like one, we could do like mindfulness, we could, you know, I did a little bit of research around what towns have done in this space. And it seems in this region, at least, it tends to be pretty disparate. It seems to be more like a group does something on this day. I didn't find a huge number of examples of, you know, like the big purge or something like we were talking about, like a sort of coordinated, you know, Earth Day celebration. So, I mean, I guess, I mean, I think that would be great. I mean, you know, growing up in Vermont, we always had Green Up Day, which is like a scheduled, like, you know, people go out and pick up all the trash as the snow melts, to make, you know, which I think would be amazing. And every time I walk around town with my kids, we talk about doing trash walks because, you know, we, you know, want to clean up some of the litter. And I think that would be amazing, but I just don't know if that's sort of aligned with where people feel like we are as a community, or where we feel like we can get at this point. And I guess sort of my question is, so are we trying to coordinate to sort of do something all in the same place with like, or are we sort of just thinking more about just being aware what each entity is doing and using their own momentum?
Does anybody have any ideas? Robert?
I would love just some place that lists all the different ones. So like if I wasn't belonging to these various groups, you know, something, a repository of like, here are all the potential schedules of events, they could overlap or not, but just to collect all the different options. And I just looked it up. So Earth Day is a Thursday. So I imagine some will do it the next, you know, the closest Saturday, some will do it, you know, like some will do it on the Thursday. So they may not even be on the same day, you know, I don't know, but.
So
just having that, what's that?
Sorry, so try and get like whatever the Friends of Lake are doing, whatever Grassroots Sustainable are doing, put it all together, put it on the website, put it in the paper. There's like, if we're going to do something, we did the artwork with the kids last year.
Yeah, the collective info available.
I tend to agree too. And I think we should think about highlighting, even if it's not an event, highlighting things that have happened, right? I mean, you know, maybe Tom, I'm looking at you, you know, maybe the MLD could do a little like, where are all the solar? I don't know, like a solar tour, or what are the new energy efficiencies, or repost your energy efficiency workshop that you guys had a few weeks ago. We have the styrofoam in the plastic bag, a reminder around that. You know, maybe there's a place where you come and you see kind of what qualifies now under the bylaw. So I don't know, I would think maybe somehow we can link it in to things that we're trying to accomplish in town. EV chargers, I don't know, maybe a little EV show. I don't know. That's kind of what I'm thinking. I know my
I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking like, do we want to do like a you know, a communication strategy via social media, like you said, and sort of do like a theme, or, you know, like, and do a more concerted effort to do a like you said, a sort of publicity around a particular topic. Last year we collected like photos of how people are spending Earth Day sort of outside, which I mean, I think, we could do more of. And I think, we want to put it on WCAT, and I feel like there was some energy around it. We have an amazing picture of Sophie and her siblings with non-plastic straws. So I feel like that we could do some of that. But so, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if other people have thoughts. I don't know. It's Carol's raising her hand. I don't know if that's.
Hang on.
Can I toss in something? The key is the theme. Earth Day already has a theme. It's Restore Earth, and it ties in with the UN in January declared this decade ecosystem restoration. So, and they include things with the whole regenerative theme. And there's a toolkit. I was going to actually be starting to post more. There's also Arbor Day on the 30th, April 30th. And like, as I said, I'm excited that all the religions, it's Interfaith Power and Light. I helped bring their attention to Kiss the Ground, because it even states right in there, we can bring back the earth to the Garden of Eden. So they're jumping all over it, and they're having all throughout April, they're going to be doing it. So, and the key thing is we have a new pastor, and both the pastor and the pastor's wife are huge into the outdoors, huge into local farms. We just started redoing the property, and I'm adding butterflies and all the symbolism with the butterflies and the pollinator pathways. And that's a huge movement going on right now, is pollinator pathways, which is so huge in restoring, that so ties in. And everybody loves butterflies.
So Myra, how do we want to move this forward? What
Well,
we're going to?
I'm happy to connect with all the groups.
Okay.
And I'll just follow up with you, Rob, if there's anybody I don't know, because I know that you know everybody in town. And it's helpful to hear that vision, Robin, of sort of where you think we could add value, which I hear you say is more of the sort of like bring people together, and then as opposed to sort of, coordinating the event itself. What I hear you saying is maybe our spot this year is to sort of just to help bring together information as opposed to bringing people together directly. And so I can certainly do that. And then think about how we might be able to add some communication or some sort of discussion about what we've done and what we plan to do, what's happening in town. I hear that. That's what I hear people say.
Just Uma, Nick, or Sophie, do you have anything you would suggest coming from the schools or anything that we could promote?
I have one thing that I'm a class officer for our class, and we've talked about doing like a school cleanup, because I know up in one of the upper parking lots, it's very messy and it's bad. So we were going to try and put something together to like authorize like a school-wide cleanup or something. I don't know if we could tie this into that somehow in like the student population. And I know one of the ideas we were going to bring up is that at like the middle school level, when they did this, they offered like science teachers offered like extra credit points. I don't know if that was something we could do to like kind of offer a more initiative for students to do it. We haven't spoken to any science teachers yet, so I'm not sure if that's actually something that they're willing to do. But it was just an idea that we had, and I don't know if that could tie into this in some way.
Yeah, I mean, what I was thinking was, even doing like we did like a green up, or like a cleanup, even offering like small gift cards around town or something. If you bring bring a bag of trash that you've picked up, around the time of Earth Day, get a $5 gift card to Cravings or something, and recognizing we have no budget. So I would, we could find ways to fund that by community members who might be interested. I'm not, so I don't know, but again, I don't know if that's feels viable.
I think anything that like is happening out there, we should just,
Okay.
and we can add we can add our own spin on it. So if I love the green up idea. I love, I'm not even sure you need the incentives from businesses, although I'd like to really support businesses because, I'd like to highlight what businesses are doing. We've talked a lot as they're trying to move to the less styrofoam and the less plastic. I mean, maybe we really try to highlight the businesses that are doing great. I also was just going to throw out there, Myra, that the community garden, if they do need to go to a lottery, it's going to be live on April 14th. And so we can do things.
Awesome.
All right, so we're going to try and get all of these different groups together, and obviously Sophie's idea of the schools. So you were talking to your science teacher? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, I don't think they'll have an issue with us cleaning up the school. It was just more so talking to them about like a possible initiative involved.
Okay.
Or an incentive, give people a little bonus.
And
Yeah, I mean,
Rob,
maybe
to
just
Julie,
put it-
I'll go back to the utility and, kind of highlight. I don't know that we can do where's the solar, but certainly highlight the DPW, the DPW solar, but, highlight the EE programs, and even the things that we've done in terms of adding to our portfolio of not emitting, sources of power that we've put together in the past couple of years.
So could I just make a suggestion? So we're not going to get anywhere right now. We have to have a public meeting. Am I right? So, Julie, if I just set up another meeting next week just for Earth Day, and then everybody brings back what they have.
Yeah, as long as it's a public meeting, it's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Is everybody okay with that? Because there's a lot of different bits, and we don't really have any answers right now.
Let's all do some research, and you don't have to come to the meeting next week. But if you're interested, come. We'll post it.
But I'll post it, and then at least if there's a quorum, obviously it's right, and if it isn't, it doesn't matter anyway.
And we could even invite the public to it for ideas too.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Get Jen to put it on and say, we're doing a little. Maybe it's more like a listening kind of session, and then after we decide what we're going to do.
Yeah. So if we can get that information, then I'll try and send something out next week, and then
we can talk to the
put it all back.
DPW. I don't know whether they have any like recycling, things planned. We still have the big purge. We decided not to do the big purge in the spring just because we weren't sure again whether we could.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
We still have that infrastructure. We still have that website set up.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Okay. All right. Updates. Student members. Do you guys have any comments or anything else you'd like to bring up? No. Okay.
No, I'm sorry I missed last meeting, but I don't have anything else to add.
No problem. That's great. I just want to make sure you had the opportunity to bring anything up that you wanted to bring up. So that's great. Susie's back, but I think she's already given her update for the schools. So, okay, that's a thumbs up. Town council.
The only thing I have to add is, and there was a letter in today's paper, so I wanted to bring it up. We talked about the contract for the boating, the community boating on the lake. And what we decided was to do a request for proposal, an RFP, to any company that might be interested or nonprofit organization to propose to do boats on the lake. So there's going to be probably a 30-day period around putting out a request for proposal and getting proposals back. And then there's going to be a 30-day public comment period. So things around the lake, we recently had a new policy about structures around the lake where the public will have 30 days to talk about anything that goes there. So there's been a little bit of not only misunderstanding, but things have been changing even since our meeting on Monday. So we're hoping there will be a voting program. We're putting it out to an open bid. And then once we see what comes in, then there'll be a period to comment on it. So I just want to throw that out there. And if people know of other organizations, Boat Boston has been the organization that's done it for the last 12 years. But if people are aware of other organizations or even, nonprofits that might have some capital to put into it, this could be a, kind of an interesting opportunity, especially for a local organization. That's it.
Great, thanks. Tom,
Sure.
you're up
Got a
next.
couple updates. I'll start
Thanks.
first by sharing my screen here. I believe it's this one. Are you guys seeing the PDF?
Mhm.
So the light department put together, and we'll be presenting this. I don't know if it's the next town council meeting, but this was presented to my board around both the public EV chargers that we donated to the town this past year in 2019. Where basically the last one was installed 2 days before the lockdown for COVID. That's the 2 level 2s and the level 3. But this report goes through those and also the chargers that we give to residents for use at their homes. So what those chargers do, they connect back to the utility, and we provide those chargers free of charge if you have an EV. And as part of that, the utility controls those chargers from a demand response that happens. So during times of peak electrical usage, peak hours, those chargers move from a level 2 to potentially a level 1, which is just a normal household plug, or even sometimes they're not available. And what that is to do is to push the time of charging to when we're not consuming a lot of power on the grid around capacity and that type of stuff. And that has to do with both greenhouse gas emissions and pricing of power at that time. But this report goes through that. This here is actually the public chargers to kind of see, when they came online in March, and you can kind of see everything came to a grinding halt. This is kilowatt hours used. We're starting to see usage pick up again out there. So people are starting to charge. So just some interesting metrics. So this is one of the metrics, the public chargers, how much greenhouse gas that they have saved. And it breaks it down by day and month and cumulative. Also, we have the sessions and that type of stuff, and where this breaks it down, where those sessions are happening between those 3 chargers. And then this moves into the residential part of the presentation. And what I found really interesting in this report, obviously we can see how COVID really impacted people's driving habits and charging habits as well. And some of the cost and greenhouse gas avoidance as well. And what we want to see, the chart's actually not formatted well, but you actually want to see the bulk of the charging happening in the overnight hours and even into the early morning hours when it's just kind of base load out there on the grid. And this was kind of a bonus around COVID. So this was 2 drivers. Obviously, one driver in the red was very impacted by COVID and lockdown, and another driver who continued to have to travel. So we get these kind of anonymous data points and that type of stuff. So their 50% of their driving was completely reduced from the year before. Any question or anything from?
Tom, what is this report called for my notes?
So the report is what do they call it here? It's in our
What's the cover say?
Vehicle municipal public chargers.
Say that again.
It's great. Oh, I stopped sharing. Electric vehicle municipal public chargers and residential 2020 report. And that's out on our webpage for anyone to.
Okay, I was gonna say, if you could send me that title, because that's a lot of words.
Yeah, I'll send it to. So they took away the chat function, so I can't send that to you through Zoom. So other updates, so around the green communities, one of the things that we were looking at, that we weren't necessarily, like we have to inventory all of the municipal buildings. An interesting thing that came out is the VOC also counts for our baseline as well. And two interesting things.
Tom, it
Yeah,
doesn't.
Tom, we got clarification.
Oh, okay, got clarification, because
Yeah.
it was a part of like some percentage of the number of students.
Yeah, it doesn't count now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that has changed since the last update I got. And then just a clarification. So our solar rebate program is still in operation. We are no longer getting funds from the Department of Energy. That rebate is now 100% being funded by the utility. And that's all I have.
Okay.
Is the process the same?
Process is identical. Nothing has changed other than the approvals no longer have to go to the Department of Energy. The approvals are all done through us.
Do you have a cap on how many systems for the year?
So we have a budget. We're monitoring that as if we're getting close to that, the utility come back to the board and we'll make a decision. All the other parameters the same. It's still the $1.20 per watt.
Along this big.
The caps in terms of the 10 kW on residential, 25 for small CNI are all still the same.
Sure, thanks. Is that everything, Tom?
Yep.
Oh, thanks for that. Thanks. DPW, Joe, he's in the finance committee meeting, so he was unable to. So there's no more updates apart from the potential of black earth composting and the cardboard. And also there's no update on the Clean Lake Committee. There still hasn't been another meeting, so there's no update there for this month.
I asked about it again at town council on Monday.
Oh, okay. And
I don't know. What's
okay. There was talk about us bringing a warrant forward for the lake, but I don't know. Okay. Our next meeting is April 8th. Well, okay, time's flying. Matters not anticipated.
So, Rob, I had just one kind of update. It was brought to my attention that the library is actually doing a climate change series. Unfortunately, the first series was yesterday, but the next one is on March 30th. So they're highlighting books around climate change. So if you go to the BB library schedule, then the next one is on the 30th.
March
I knew
30th.
they had a session
Thank you.
tonight. That I just
Yeah, so yeah, I think it
people
was
there.
tonight. Maybe I was looking at it was
They had 21 people there tonight, and they talked about the power plant issue, which is good.
Oh, great. We had something else we were going to talk about. Matters not anticipated, right, Julie?
Oh, we were going to talk about the vote on the ESC, but I think we're okay.
Okay.
Let's leave it as is. I think we're probably covered under it. If by some reason we need to change that, we may have to have a special meeting.
Okay.
If you
Julie,
want,
if we're gonna have a special meeting next week on Earth Day,
I was just gonna say, maybe we wait until after the 22nd and do them both together.
Oh, okay. So wait until after the town council.
We could do it like the 23rd or the 24th. The town council meets on the 22nd. We could get an update on that as well.
Okay, and then that's enough time because Earth Day's not till April 22nd. So okay, that gives us enough time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll get everything ready for that week. Okay. All right. I'll send something up for that. And then
So we're going to put a time that works for everybody, especially Myra, since she's leading the efforts.
Oh yeah. Hang on. So what works for everyone? So I'm going to post it, and if not everybody can make it, we don't have to have a quorum for this, right? Because we're not voting on anything.
No,
Let's
we
just
won't
give it.
vote. Well, unless we have
Well,
to
we
vote on
would
the,
if we
warrant.
need to.
Oh, right. If we need to.
We'll
Okay.
let
Yeah.
everybody know so that we get a quorum.
Got you. So April 20.
I can't do the 23rd. It's Safe Streets Working Group.
That's a Friday. So
No,
would
you're
the-
suggesting a March meeting, not an
I'm thinking
April.
March, so like March
Oh, I'm
24th
sorry.
or
I'm in the
25th.
wrong month.
It's okay.
Yeah, thank you. So the 25th
Or
is it,
yeah,
is
whatever
a
works. I
Thursday.
just can't do the 23rd, but I don't necessarily have to be there.
Stay
the
on
twen-
Thursdays probably would be less confusing.
Yeah.
So March 25th. Does that seem to work for everyone?
Gives you a little more time, Myra, to reach out to people too.
Yeah, we can have.
Yeah, and Julie, maybe I'll go to the Safe Streets meeting
That would be awesome. Yeah.
the week before. There was a
You
couple
can put
days.
it on the agenda for Safe Streets.
Cool.
Cool. Great. And so just Myra, the draft letter you sent.
Oh yeah.
We could talk about that now. How do we? So Myra nicely.
I drafted the letter that I talked about last meeting, just to sort of again thinking about how to communicate some of the things we've done. So I actually I drafted it while I was listening to town council and feeling really excited about sort of where we were. So it's just as a letter thinking about, sending to the item and maybe posting online about some of the things that we accomplished last year and some of our priorities coming up for this year. And so I know I sent it to Mary. I know she had some comments around some framing, maybe linking to COVID a little bit. But I don't know. I don't know, Rob. I mean, I thought we talked about this last meeting too. I don't know if we need to vote on it or share with everyone, or if anybody else wants to look at it. I was just, we've been talking a lot this year about how to raise our visibility a little bit. And so I was thinking about it in that. I was also thinking about writing maybe an article to send to the item about the new student representatives. If you all wouldn't mind, I could look through the recording of the last meeting where you talked about why you joined. I would run it by you all, of course, first. I'm just thinking about ways that we can add, I'm very conscious right now in town that there's a lot of negativity. And so I don't know if people have thoughts on that, but I do think it's worth thinking about how do we communicate a little bit better about the cool things that are happening. So when I put together the list of accomplishments, at least those 6 bullet points, I don't know, Rob, if you want to put it back up again.
Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't mean this.
But it was really cool to think back about the things that we did in the year, which were the so I pulled out the municipal vulnerability plan, the plastic bag recycling for the benches, the sort of Earth Day and the pumpkin and those sort of public campaigns, the recycling contract and the composting. I didn't do the schools, but maybe we should include that too around the schools.
Definitely include the schools.
And then the two town warrants. So I'll add in the schools, and then thinking about sort of a beginning introduction to the initiatives that you all really have been working on, which is around the stretch code and the sort of the high school, the planning toward the high school, and really thinking about how to get ahead of that, I think is really exciting. And then I pulled out the land use potentially. So I don't know if others want to add comments.
Myra, was there, and I don't know, I was on the committee at this point in time, but did this committee help coordinate with the DPW on the composting barrels and the rain barrels, or was that just entirely a DPW led effort?
That was pre us.
That was, yeah.
Yeah.
I would definitely add the food recovery and school part.
And the composting in school, yeah.
Working with WEF and whatever Andy Bray's group is, maybe.
Okay.
maybe even at, I mean, I don't know, I know Robin only went to one meeting, but I think what you did with the permanent building was great. You know, we've started reaching out to other committees to see how we can support, you know, work together.
I mean, we could also use it as a opportunity to say, if you haven't heard from us, and we would
Yep.
love to talk to you. So as you know, to empower people to come to us, or, you know, let us know that they exist, you know, whether it's a town
Yeah.
entity or not. First thing
I
comes
love
to
that.
mind, you know, we talked, I know, way back, you know, that high school has STEM programs, and do they anyone have projects we can help? But I know that Scouts and Girl Scouts do things, you know, is there anything that we can, you know, talk to folks or whatever, you know?
Yeah, I was even going to list our, you know, I the last sentence I was meaning to say, like, you know, let us know. We love to hear from people.
Yep, and tell them when our meetings are too. You know,
Oh yeah.
we meet whatever we meet, the second Thursday of the month. And where our website is.
I guess, and if this goes out after town council approves our membership expansion, you could use it as come join us.
Yeah.
Oh
No,
yeah.
I wouldn't even wait for that. Let's get a second bite at the apple with that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, my thought was that in order to talk about what we want to do going forward, we need to talk a little bit about what we've done so far. So
I love this. I think it's great. You know, and maybe, yeah, I think maybe, you know, just a couple of you sign it because you're speaking on behalf. So.
Yeah, we don't need to vote on sending a letter out, right? We could just.
I think we just,
But-
I mean, we've all seen it now and we've given you our input, so I think it's fine.
We're just talking about adding the schools, talking about the composting.
Yeah.
Adding the meeting, the website, and yeah.
Yep.
Myra, on the coordinate with the DPW around new recycling, I would put something about recycling at the schools too, because that
Okay.
was a big topic of conversation, as well as is not just thinking about it kind of as it stands today in town, but also that would include the schools.
cool.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, because when we set it up, it was composting, recycling, and food rescue, and then
Right. Yeah, I would do a
Okay.
separate bullet on the food rescue and composting at school. That happened across all of the elementary schools with the help of parent volunteers. And then on the existing bullet where it's talking about DPW thinking about their new recycling contract, it would broaden it to include, you know, cardboard recycling and composting as well, and maybe just something about additional recycling capability or recycling opportunities at the schools.
Great. I missed that, Susie, that was a big part of the recycling contract. So that's awesome.
Well, so it was part of the discussion.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's actually in what Joe negotiated, but it was absolutely a long conversation, multiple meetings in talking about the fact that we don't, even if we do recycling at the schools, that we don't have the service to kind of support it. And so I'm hoping that that Joe's contract negotiations included the schools, because we definitely had a lot of conversation about it.
I think it does. We should clarify that. I can't remember whether it came up on Monday.
Okay.
Yeah, they didn't mention the recycling on that. I don't think it definitely said the composting, but yeah, okay.
I'll send Joe a note right now.
Okay.
Great. So,
and Susie, is what I wrote. So if you look at the first sentence in the bottom paragraph, where I said incorporating environmental enhancements to the planning of the high school construction or renovation. Is that language okay with you? I was trying to avoid
enhancements. I'm having trouble with the word enhancements.
Okay.
Incorporating environmental considerations into the planning for the high school.
Great.
Let's go with that.
And I was trying to avoid some of the other hot button issues around the, new versus renovate. I thought that was a discussion for another day.
I think that's fair.
All right. Well, thanks for doing that. That's great.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Um,
A little late, so I apologize for that, but
That's good. I would do, you know what though, if you can get it in sooner rather than later, the paper's gonna start getting just bombarded with election letters.
Mhm.
I don't want this to get too varied.
yeah, I'll follow up with Mary tomorrow and see if she had other edits. Otherwise, I think it's ready to go. We could even, I don't know if there's considerations of Friday versus Monday, but we could get it into certainly Monday's paper.
Perfect.
Yeah, I would submit it this weekend so that it shows up Monday or Tuesday. I think being earlier in the week is probably better than trying to get it published for tomorrow.
Great.
all right. Well, thanks again for doing that. That's great.
Yeah.
Was
And
there
then
any?
Nick and Sophie,
Go on.
and Uma, if it's okay, I'll just pull a quote out from each of you about why you're interested or why you joined, and then maybe that could be another like a news-ish kind of thing to say, I think we should highlight it because it's, I thought all of you were so articulate and inspired when you talked about why you wanted to join, so I think it's worth highlighting.
Everybody's nodding. That sounds good. All right. Is there any other matters not anticipated? Anybody? No. Okay. All right.
We didn't talk about the styrofoam and the business collaboration.
Oh,
I guess it was probably under trash. So just
Sorry.
and Melissa can chime in if we had a meeting with Erin Kokinda, who's the business director, and Jen, who does communications, and the chamber, and Melissa and Susie and I. And we're moving forward. In fact, Erin and the chamber were supposed to meet this week on starting to put together some of the outreach materials and doing a video. So it's definitely moving forward. Melissa, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I just want to add that there's been several restaurants involved in the discussion, so it's been helpful to get their perspective and some of the things they're thinking of as we try to transition away from styrofoam and plastic bags.
Yep, we're definitely getting good. We're getting good participation.
oh,
Julie, do you anticipate businesses submitting waivers prior to the last minute based on their outlook, or?
It's hard to tell right now. I don't know. We're putting together some of the, buying, pricing and everything to give them initial information. So I think it's a little early to know.
But nobody's asked yet.
No.
Did anybody? Sorry.
Out.
Did anybody look into creating a fund as I brought up an idea in the fall?
We have talked about it. We haven't as one idea. It's just where would the funding come from? So we talked about bulk buying. We've talked about starter kits. We've talked of examples, giving kind of everybody examples. But no, we haven't talked directly about who would.
The key reason I brought it up because so many people stood up and said that they'd be perfectly willing to pay a lot extra for it. So I'm like, they could fund it.
Yeah, like maybe it's a 10 cents on. I don't know. Yeah. That's a good point. Melissa, you were trying to chime in. You're super light. It's hard to hear you.
Oh yeah, sorry. I was gonna say that. No, I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
Okay.
all right.
All right, we'll give a better update on that soon, next month.
Okay. I'll make sure that has its own item now
Okay.
on the agenda. Okay. All right. All right. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favour? Tom?
Aye.
Rob? Aye. Robin?
Aye.
Julie,
Okay.
Susie, and Myra.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys.